Not only are we checking out 3 awesome free plugins today, but also a super easy way to grab them and plenty more. Yes, I know you've already got plenty of delay plugins, but check out this one. It's got a feature on it that not many others have, and it's very useful indeed. It's called HY Delay for free, and we're going to start off with it bypassed and have a listen to the piano that we're going to apply it to. So just some nice simple arpeggios there. Now let's switch the plugin on and just leave it in its default state and see what it's doing to that piano part. So it started off okay, didn't it? We get this nice sort of sub rhythm happening. That's because it's set at the moment in terms of timing to 1/8 dotted notes. And that's a great default setting because it will often create some really nice rhythms. However, it all became a kind of a jumbled mess as the chords changed. What happened is some of the notes that were being repeated kind of collided with some of the new notes in the new chords, making them sound kind of discordant. And that's what we're going to try and fix in various different ways, including using that feature I was talking about a moment ago. But I'm actually going to start off first of all by making this a little bit more interesting in terms of rhythm by separating the left and right channels. So I'll do that by just unlocking them here with this feature. Now the right channel is set to seconds at the moment, so I want to make it a musical setting again, so we'll change that, and I'm going to leave it on 1/4 notes, which is where it is at the moment. Have a listen to this. It's going to sound a bit wider and a little bit different rhythmically. Cool, but we've still got those notes sort of colliding with each other. Now, we could deal with this in a very simple way. We could reduce the number of repeats by bringing the feedback down here. That's one thing we could do. We could make sure we're not getting sort of a bass build up by adjusting this high pass filter here, or we could even use the EQ over here to sort of stop frequency build-ups. But it's not really frequency build-ups that are causing the problem for us here. Again, it's the fact that those notes are kind of running into each other. So what I'm going to do is actually make use of this feature over here, the ducker feature. So if you're not familiar with what a ducker is, you can just think of it as a compressor, which is going to suppress the delayed signal while the original is playing. And you can adjust how much it does that. But let's start off just by switching it on and seeing what effect it has already. So we still get a slight sort of collision of notes, but it's much, much better. Now you can adjust the sensitivity. I could push that up a little bit. You can adjust things like the attack here. So it's just going to kick in a little bit quicker and sort of clamp down a little bit on the delay. Have a listen again, and then I'll bring the rest of the music in as well. Now in the intro, I hinted at the fact that I'm not only going to show you 3 free plugins today, but I'm going to show you how I got them really easily. And I was talking about this. This is Sonisto's freeware plugin box. It makes it super easy to install this great collection of free plugins that you can see me scrolling through here. Now this in itself is free. And once you've downloaded it, the first thing you'll want to do is go down here to your DAW settings. When you click on that, you can select the DAWs that you're using on your system. Now I've selected Studio One and Cakewalk by BandLab, and I know that my Cakewalk viewers will be super pleased that the makers of this have actually included this DAW, which is often ignored. So well done there. Now the reason you're selecting your DAWs is to make sure it sort of shows you compatible plugins, etc. There's some other little settings you can do there, not quite as important. And then once you've set that up, you can easily just install any of these plugins just by by clicking on the install button. I'll click on this one here, for example. It downloads it, it installs it. It doesn't open up a whole bunch of windows and things, and it makes it super easy. Now, if you don't want to just do a one-click install like that, but you want to make sure that you're installing specific versions, you can do that also. Just click on the three dots on any of these plugins. It opens up this panel here. And now we can see with this one, Chow Phaser, that there's a VST2 and a VST3 version available. There's some different actual version numbers that we can choose from here. And now we can manually choose to install maybe just the VST3 version, for example. And that can be helpful for just reducing clutter on your system if you know you're just not going to use one of these versions. So you can see that installing individual plugins is super simple, and you can even install multiple plugins at the same time in a really easy way. You can just click on select multiple here, and then you can either go ahead and select multiple plugins, or you can even go up to the top here and install all of these 58 plugins that we've got in here at once. Now, if you go ahead and follow the link in the description down below and install Sonisto, and you're using this freeware plugin box, let me know in the comments down below which of these plugins you installed and tried out and which ones you like, because I haven't used all of them yet. And in particular, there's a few synths in there which I haven't really tried out, but they look kind of interesting. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below on that. Now, one of the plugins that you can see here that I downloaded is the one I'm going to show you next. Flux Mini 2 is all about modulation and filters, and in a moment I'm going to apply it to this guitar part. Now, if we switch the plugin on and just leave it in its default settings, we're going to hear this. And you can quite clearly hear there that it's modulating the amplitude or the volume, if you like. And there's really two factors that affect the way it's doing that. First of all, we've got the modulation curve on the right-hand side, and there's lots of different ways we can manipulate that, and we'll look at that in just a moment. The other thing to bear in mind is this control here. The amplitude control has got a pink ring around it here, and that's showing the range of amplitude which this is actually affecting. So we can adjust that by adjusting this control below. So I'll just make it a little bit smaller there and then just push this up and have a listen again. And to make it even more subtle, we may even just blend this in with the original guitar, like so. Have a listen to that. We get a nice subtle tremolo effect there. And by the way, you can also modulate that mix control down the bottom there as well. Now, as I mentioned, we can also change this curve in several different ways. So we can start off with that basic curve. We can just move these nodes around like so to adjust that curve. So I'll just do that kind of randomly now. Let's have a listen. Let's do a slow fade in. Now, of course, you would play around with that to get what you want. And interestingly, you can easily double this up to sort of multiply it by using this button here. So if we click on that, it doubles that pattern. We could keep doing that as long as we want to, or we can half it again if we want to. And once we've sort of multiplied one of these curves, then we can go ahead and then adjust the new curve which has been created. So lots of different ways to sort of manipulate this curve in here to get different modulation effects. Now, if we reset this back to where it was originally, what I'm going to show you now is how we can modulate the filters. We've got three different filters to choose from here. So I'm going to select this high pass filter here, and I'm just going to pull the cutoff down to begin with and have a listen to what we've got. Now you can hear there that I get some interesting effects as I move that cutoff around. So we can actually modulate that as well. Just push this control up below it so that we're actually setting up a range there, and have a listen again. and then we can go ahead and adjust the resonance. And then modulate that as well. Let's hear it with the rest of the band. Now, before we move on to our final plugin, there were just a few other features in Sonisto that I didn't mention earlier, and I wanted to mention them to you quickly now. If you go up a little bit from the freeware plugin box, you can see this feature, Scan and Organize. So once you click on that, you can go ahead and scan all of the plugins on your system. Now, I had about 2,700 plugins or so. It didn't actually take too long. And once you've done that, then you could, for example, go up to this library feature. Now, that's going to show you all of your plugins. Now I can now, for example, open up this one. This is from Vienna Symphonic Library. I can click on this one and I can see here what my installed version is and what the latest available version is. If I click on the download button, it will take me to the download link so I can go ahead and update that plugin. It's kind of useful actually. There's also some other features where you can store your passwords for those plugins, etc. in their password vault. Definitely worth checking out. So follow the link in the description down below to check out some of those features. I reckon you are least likely to download this plugin of all three that I'm showing you today, but if you do, you'll benefit from it most, especially in the long term, because this plugin's not about what features it has so much about the features it doesn't have. It's called Blindfold EQ, and as we can see, it's got 4 bands of EQ: our low frequencies, our low mids, high mids, and our high frequencies. And we get our controls here, but we get very little information other than that. We have no numbers here indicating the actual value of the frequencies we're selecting. And importantly, we have no numbers for the gain. Now, I think this is helpful in 2 different ways. It really gets you to use your ears in terms of frequency because you're not thinking about a number. It's all very tempting, isn't it, to think, sibilance, that's always at like 5K, and go straight there. And don't get me wrong, that's not bad as a shortcut. But in my opinion, I really like the fact that you're just going to have to find those frequencies here by using your ears. And the other important one is the gain for me. Often we get tempted into thinking we should or shouldn't do, I don't know, more than 3 decibels of gain adjustment in particular situations. This doesn't give you that number to be thinking about. You're just going to be pushing gain up and down depending on what your ears tell you is needed at the time. Now, what I'm going to do here is simply play our track again. I've got this on the master bus, and I'm going to make some adjustments here to some of the controls. And I just want you to have fun using your ears, determining what you're hearing in terms of change. So don't forget to follow the link in the description down below and get hold of a copy of Sonisto freeware plugin box. And once you've tried out some of the plugins there, come back to the comments section of this video and let me know which of these free plugins you'd like me to cover in more detail in another video. I'm looking forward to your responses there. I'm Mike, I hope you're well, and I'll see you in the next video.